I'm a permanent resident of Canada now. I don't think I'm going to keep it. Getting permanent residence is kind of like saying Canada and I are engaged, but not married. So we've moved in together, and she's aware of my financial situation. But every once in a while, she will still ask me questions, the answer to which she already knows. I applied for permanent residence 2 years ago. They made me take the test of English as a foreign language after I graduated from the University of Waterloo. The Canadian government was like, yes, we know you have a degree from one of our universities, but like, do you speak English? You know what's amazing? You also have to take the test of English before they let you into the University of Waterloo. So really what they're saying is, yes, we know you spoke English when you first came to this country, but you've been spending a lot of time with Canadians. So maybe you forgot? Because if all Canadians had to take the test of English as a foreign language, half of you would not get back into your own country. The other day a dude said to me, your English is really good, and I could tell that he was spelling your wrong. He did not spell it out, I just heard the apostrophe. You know who also has to take the test of English to get into Canada? The British. Can you imagine that conversation at the border? Do you speak English? I am the English. Canada, you know how badly you have to fuck up as a country for an Indian dude to get on stage and say, hey, I don't think you're treating the British correctly? Insane behavior. Okay? And by the way, half the time the person administering the test is dumber than the person taking the test. Okay? If I graduate from the University of Waterloo and then I walk into a room where somebody tests me on my English speaking ability and this man has a degree from York University, I am going to ask for his GPA. I'm not leaving my permanent residence up to chance. Okay? What if I use a word he doesn't understand? What if I'm like Aurora Borealis? Get the fuck out! I will make you a deal. If I walk into the test of English and I don't speak English, I will leave. But if it turns out that I speak better English than my examiner, then he has to leave. Go to India and work on his spice tolerance. And when he gets to India, we are going to make him take the test of a language that he does not speak. Mathematics. I just saw Paji in the front. Sri Akal. It's okay, I've toured all across Canada. Audiences don't scare me anymore. I did jokes about racism in Grande Prairie. You guys don't scare me. I was in Grande Prairie before I got on stage. They were like, Ashwyn, you cannot do any jokes about racism. I was like, that's 45 minutes of my act. Why did you book me? But Grande Prairie is oil and gas country. So I got on stage and I was like, guys, let's negotiate. I have 45 minutes of jokes about racism. But if you don't like it, I will switch to my 45 minutes about climate change. And they picked racism. Happens everywhere. I was in Dubai before I got on stage in Dubai. This producer came up to me and said, Ashwyn, this is the United Arab Emirates. Whatever you do, do not make any jokes about Islam. Look at the fear in the room. At the time, I did not have any jokes about Islam. I had to go to the green room and write some. I just came out and I was like, my good sir, I don't persecute people upon the basis of their religion. I am one human being, not the province of Quebec. When you first went to Waterloo as an international student, you had to take something called International and Out of Province Student Orientation. International and out of province. And I don't know if you guys are good at Venn diagrams. But one of those is a circle that goes inside the other one. You know why they don't just call it out of province student orientation? Because international and out of province student orientation involves taking an Indian dude from New Delhi and a white dude from Manitoba and putting them in the same orientation, like you guys have the same culture gap to bridge. Which it then turns out they do. Indians have to learn Canadian culture, Manitoba people have to learn what a Muslim looks like. I just feel like society has like no distance from the things that they talk about anymore. You know what I mean? People always think the closer you are to something, the better you understand it. And I'm like, you know, sometimes you're too close to it to see it for what it really is. Like, sarcasm is the immigrant love language. You know? Because the first time someone yells at you to go home to your country, you're sad. The 10th time they yell at you to go home to your country, you're like, now is not a good time. I just got a 1-year lease. People will come up to me and they'll say things where I'm like, I understand this is emotional for you, but it's not emotional enough to get empathy from me. I had these two people walk up to me and one of my friends was like, he broke up with me 2 days after Valentine's Day. Who does that? And then I had to resist the urge to be like, somebody that wanted to break up with you on Valentine's Day. And waited 48 hours. Were you expecting him to break up with you on Christmas because Santa Claus isn't real and neither was your relationship? Then he should have waited until Martin Luther King Day because he wanted freedom. I've never heard any Indian woman be like, he broke up with me 2 days after Gandhi Jayanti. That's never happened. I had a lot of trouble making Canadian friends when I first moved to Canada. Just because they're so formal with each other as compared to Indians. Like every time I wanted to hang out with my Canadian friends, they always made me feel like if I wanted to hang out with them, I needed to call them and schedule an appointment like 2 weeks in advance. They always seem to have these very tight schedules of doing nothing. My Indian friends will call me at 2 a.m. like, we are at your house. Having dinner with your dad. When will you be getting home? Because when I first came here, I asked a Canadian friend of mine to pass me a can of Coke that was closer to his side of the table, and he handed it to me, but apparently I did not ask nicely enough for him. Under his breath, he said, in Canada we say thank you. And I was like, in India, we don't put our parents in nursing homes. But thank you. You have my eternal gratitude. Because as an immigrant, you can't tell people when you're mad. You're always supposed to have this grateful to be here energy. Like you could drop me over the gates of hell, 50-50 chance I might still be like, thank you for the opportunity. As soon as you come here, they're like, oh, you know, now that you're in Canada, you have to be Canadian. You have to learn Canadian culture. And I'm like, you know, the most Canadian thing I could do is kick you out of your house and pretend it's my house. No, you don't remember this? Okay, let me extend this analogy. And then 200 years after, could I borrow your phone for just a second? Yeah. And then 200 years after that, I'll be like, I would like to acknowledge that I have stolen this phone. And let's just move on like nothing happened. But every year I will acknowledge that I have stolen this phone and not give it back in front of the people that I have stolen it from. And hooray me, I fixed the problem. Oh, Canada! Our home and natives land. N-A-T-I-V-E?
Apostrophe.
Shut up. If any of you thought apostrophe S and not S apostrophe, then you take the test of English as a foreign language. Waterloo, thank you guys so much for coming on, man.